Fabbo Podcast. Hear candid conversations with wedding professionals as they share their stories, insights, and tips from inside the wedding industry. We'll chat about how to be authentic and that it's okay not to be perfect or run your business like someone else's Instagram. Let's dive into the privilege it is to serve our clients and discover the talented creatives that make up our community. When we share what we know and who we are, we better serve our couples as a wedding day team, as well as each other. Simply put, Be Fabbo. Now here's your host, BobbiBrinkman.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. Today I'm thrilled to have Cathy Huber from Cathy Huber Cakes. She is a wonderful, amazing cake artist here on St. Simon's Island, and I'm not going to lie, I enjoy many of her cakes at many of the weddings that I am blessed to be on the wedding day team with her. So I'm really excited that she took the time today to talk to us. So I'll tell you a little bit about Cathy. She has an educational background in graphic design and fine art. She has enjoyed baking from a young age and has been a cake artist for over 30 years. Her wedding cakes have been featured in such places as Southern Coastal Wedding Magazine, Not Real Weddings, Style Me Pretty, New Age Designs. She's also on the Not Best of Weddings and Wedding Wire's Couple's Choice. So she is not only well-versed in cake, but clients and other fellow vendors know and appreciate her as well. She currently create her cakes from her small cake studio here behind a cottage located just a few minutes from the beautiful Atlantic Ocean. Cathy and I are both blessed to live on St. Simon's Island, Georgia. So for any of you that have not traveled this way, make sure you find your way and you can have some cake and get some nice photos taken. And it's a great place to say I do, but we'll get back on that. So Cathy specializes in bespoke wedding cakes. And when she's not in her studio designing these magnificent cakes, and seriously, folks, you need to follow her on Instagram. You can find her on the beach spending time with her 2 daughters, 2 granddaughters, and her infamous German Shepherd dog, we live in a very dog-friendly island, so dogs and weddings are 2 things you see quite often. So again, really, really thrilled to have you here, Cathy. Thanks again for your time.
Well, thank you so much, Bobby, for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm just excited to chat weddings and wedding cakes with you.
That is great. So give us a little bit about when you got in the industry. And I know you've been doing this for about 30 years, but when did you really hit the wedding mark and really started, wedding cakes are where I'm going to spend most of my time? And then tell us a little bit about, is there any other cakes that you do other than just wedding cakes?
Okay, well, I've always loved to bake, and I've always baked for family and friends, anything, cakes, pies, cookies, pastries, you name it. When my oldest daughter turned 1, I ordered her a birthday cake, and we had a big party planned. I went to pick it up, and I cried because it was not beautiful. It was not delicious. It was day of, so I had to serve it. And I immediately went after that and started taking cake classes. That was in the old days before the internet. So right. I took Wilton classes. I took, books, videos, anything I could get my hands on. And I was a graphic designer, a technical illustrator, and a fine artist. And I had a pretty great business in Charleston, South Carolina. But I was doing cakes, and everybody would see them and want them. And at some point I had to make a decision, because I was doing art all day and cakes at night, and it was a bit much. So I just ended up leaning towards the cakes. I love baking. I love couples, just being part of their special day and trying to design something beautiful and delicious and exclusively for them, for their personalities and their guests.
Right. And that's the one thing I will say is, I've been doing this for a long time as well. And I have ate my share of wedding cakes, and some of them are amazingly beautiful. I mean, drop dead gorgeous, should be hanging, but then I see nobody eating them. Right. I see them left on the table. I see them get cut up on plates, and nobody comes and buys them after, or comes up by them and gets the first 2 bites on their fork, and I see them just sitting on the table. So right. I'm here to attest to the fact that your cakes are beautiful, but man, they have got flavors. I mean, and how do you do that? I mean, that's you're coming from a graphic design background. So did you have a knowledge to how to make something taste good? Because I mean, I've seen plenty of people that merge over, and like I said, it's either looks really good and tastes bad, or it tastes really good and you thought, where'd that come from?
Exactly.
But, I mean, how, so how did you remedy that? How did you know, hey, I'm going to have to come up with flavors and something a little bit different to set me apart? So how did you come up with that?
So I have lots and lots of experience. I've worked lots of different places. I've worked in commercial bakeries. I've worked in like candy shops. I've worked for caterers. So I've been around a lot of people, had a lot of experience. I've taken a lot of classes and I've experimented tremendously. So what we really like to do is talk to the couples and get a feel for what they love. And we like for them to really express like unique things that they love. And then we like to design the flavors accordingly. So one of the things that we offer is we will do each tier in a different flavor. We like to do that. We like for the guests to have variety. And we just like for the couples to tell us anything they love. They love, type of ice cream, a cookie, a pie, a candy, a liqueur, just anything that they love. And then kind of just design from there. And then, of course, we do our tastings with them. Cake is art, but it's also science, two of my favorite things. Right. And so we really do care, that it be beautiful, of course, but it has to taste amazing. And we like to be known for that.
Well, and you are. I mean, while everybody says how beautiful your cakes are, I can tell you that they also say, man, this is beautiful. And then literally I have sat there, and I know I tell you this on Instagram a lot when I see you, people bite into them and like, oh my gosh, and this tastes good. It's amazing that in 2019, so many people bite into a cake and are shocked that, oh my gosh, it actually tastes good. So, again, that's kudos to you for doing that.
Yes, thank you so much. That is really, that is our goal. And we have people, I have people that come up to me and they were at a wedding 10 years ago and they're like, oh my gosh, that was the best wedding cake I ever had. They still remember it. I had a wedding in December. The couple called me the next day while they're on their honeymoon. And she's like, the bride is like, all of our cake got eaten. We only got one piece. Can you please make us a cake? And I'm like, well, didn't you get your first anniversary? She's like, yes, but can you please do our birthday cake in February? And so we don't do a lot of birthday cakes, but in situations like that, if we possibly can, then we say yes to that. And of course, that's very flattering. And that's what we want. We want people, we don't do a lot of advertising. Right. It's mostly word of mouth and referral. And we do pretty well like that. And we really do try our absolute best. And some designs don't lend themselves to where the cake can actually be so delicious.
Right. That was going to be my next question. I was going to say, when couples come and see you and they have a tasting, in their mind, if they say, oh my gosh, I absolutely want a toasted caramel coconut tasting cake, at what point do you say, well, that's great, but then it needs to look like this? So go ahead, tell us a little bit about how that really works out.
Okay, so the way that we actually, most people contact us either via email or phone, and we direct them to our website, cathyhubercakes.com, and they fill out a questionnaire. And it's kind of brief. After that, we like to have a phone consultation, and that's where we really talk to them about flavors, about what they love. We try to get, if they want to let their parents pick a flavor, because sometimes they really enjoy that. Each of the parents gets to pick a flavor and the bride and groom can pick a flavor. So after, they pick their flavors for their tasting, we give them a price quote, before all that. But after the flavors are chosen is when we really design specifically, like a finalized cake design, because it does matter as far as you can't have something that's going to take 3 days to decorate. You can't have perishable fillings, so we have to work around all that and be creative. Sometimes we use faux tiers, we just try to do whatever we can to get something that's like the most beautiful, the most delicious, but that the couple really want and love.
Right, and they're excited, and I think you can see in photos that sometimes these are very excited.
They're very excited, and that makes us so happy. We love seeing the candid photos of them enjoying their cake. We usually get an email saying thank you and how much they loved it and everything, but that's nothing compared to seeing their faces.
Oh, right. And see, I'm there when you're not there. So I get to see you setting it up, and the photographers and other vendors get to watch the reaction of the people. And, you know, are you finding that now in 2019, are you finding that the investment on cakes is increased a little bit more? I know for a while there, we were not having any cakes. I was having pies and mason jar made pies. So I'm finding, at least for the last couple of years, that people are starting to invest. Our couples are investing into a really nice tasting experience, and they want something pretty. But even a simple cake is still a statement for a couple. So are you finding that people are spending a little bit more money investing in their cakes, and it's becoming a little bit more of a priority now?
Well, we have a specific clientele. We cater to people from all over the world. As you know, St. Simon's is a destination wedding spot. We don't do a lot of local people. We do a few here and there,
right.
But I would say that 85% of our business, 90 to 95% of it really, is people from all over. I have a bride coming up that's from France. Had one a couple months ago from London. We, obviously from all over the U.S.
Right.
So we really care about the cake. As a statement, it's something that they're serving their guests. It's part of like the biggest celebration of their life. And I feel like the cake is very important, to look like how it looks as far as, just part of the beauty of the celebration. But then also, like I said, you're sharing it with your guests. It's going to be in your photographs forever, So we use like really fine ingredients, and it's expensive.
Right. Oh, yes. I mean, again, so are weddings. But I think that weddings also have not only do I see it and feel it, but your food and your cake, especially your dessert, it helps people experience the wedding through the taste. And again, because you cater to the couple's, flavors and profiles, the people can go, oh my gosh, yes, this pineapple cake, or one of my favorites, the strawberry champagne. It's I can tell that is that couple, and this is so reminiscent of that couple. And so you're doing that. So you're adding another layer to the wedding experience.
So we had a bride recently, her favorite thing was stroopwafel. So we designed a stroopwafel cake. It's new. People loved it, and it's, people talk about it. A lot of times the brides will say, oh my gosh, people are still talking about the cake. And they're talking to me 6 weeks later, sharing their photographs with me. So when people contact us, a lot of people aren't aware, like vanilla prices rose over 10 times because, 80% of the vanilla comes from Madagascar, and they had crop failure. And a lot of people just don't realize that, like, real butter, real cane sugar, real vanilla, which is what is going to make the cake taste so fabulous. It's expensive. It just is. And I also try to keep up with, like, the latest trends, the latest classes, all that. But aside from all that, just to bake something really wonderful, it is expensive. So if somebody, calls and says, I just want the cheapest cake possible, I am happy to direct them somewhere else. But that's
exactly
our clientele.
Exactly.
That's not what we're looking to do. Now, if somebody calls and they say, I'm on a tight budget, but I love your cake. I had it at a wedding. I absolutely have to have something. What can we do? I'll work with them. I will try my best to design something within their budget, that where they can still enjoy something fabulous. It may not be the most extravagant, it may be more simple or smaller or, something like that. But we will work with people, if they want something delicious like that. But we have to stay in business.
Exactly. Well, see, but that's another thing that makes you successful is you're another vendor, local or across the board. And it's something that I stress as I go around and meet vendors is people have to become first. Yes, we're all running a business and we all have to pay our bills, but there are just times that we have gifts that we need to share. And one of the good things about you is that I do know for a fact that you work really, really hard to deliver a product to budgets across the board, and you're honest and open if you can, and if clients can come up a little bit, I know I personally have clients that have come to you and wasn't quite in their budget, but you have worked something out with them where everybody still wins. And I hate to use the word win, but it is a win-win for all of us as small business owners and the couples, and then our potential clients get to see it. So that's one of the things that set you apart and that make you who you are and will always have you be successful. So on that, I wanted to kind of parlay that into, because you touched on a little bit that we do live in, coastal Georgia. So how do you manage client expectations if they come to you, and you and I both know this happened? I would like an ice cream cake in July. So how do you handle those expectations without crushing somebody's wedding dreams?
That's actually happened,
right.
Which is probably why you're quoting that. That's really cute. So, I named my business after my own name. I take a lot of pride in that. It is speaking for me. So if I can't do it well and be super proud of it and have my name on it, then I just can't do it. I mean, I just can't.
So Cathy, tell me if you can, some things that you wish you would have known when you first started. I know you were doing other commercial work in kitchens, but when you ventured out on your own and put your name on the door per se, what are some of the things that you wish you would have known back then that you would like to tell yourself now? That it's okay not to have known, but that you learned?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a long list of things. I think the main thing would be that it's okay to just be yourself. You don't have to compete with anybody else. And it's okay. Just like let your light shine and don't feel like you have to be there. Like the journey is fun and it's an experience. It's life,
Exactly.
And just to enjoy it.
Exactly. Well, and most of the time, we're doing happy things for people. So we're very honored and privileged to be doing happy events for people. So, of course, you and I get to always joke. I know other vendors that come traveling down here go, well, if I got to live by the beach every day, I'd be happy. But, we work very hard to be able to live by the beach. So,
yes.
It's a blessing and a curse. But, again, weddings down here are unique and special. But I think that's all of us. I think we all struggle with keeping up with technology and just the everyday things that happen. But, I always tell people that when your dream job becomes your day job, would there be anything that you different? Because you sat back in your cubicle wishing that you were going to have this dream job, and now that we're here. So it's sometimes hard to complain about it because we're very blessed to be doing what we're doing. And, like they say, if you love what you do, you never work. So what are some of the trends that you're seeing coming in for wedding cakes in 2019 or 2020? Some of the new and different things that you're seeing on your end?
Okay, that's a great question. One of my favorite things is Instagram, because I get to see what people are doing all over the world.
Right.
And I have cake friends all over the world. That's the great thing about technology. It opens the whole world to us. Last week I took a class with a lady in Toronto, and a couple of weeks before that I was able to take a class with a lady in Malaysia. Wow. It's just absolutely, fantastic what the technology affords us to be able to do. It also helps us keep up with all the trends that are going on around the world. I think people are paying more for cakes. A lot of people are having a higher budget, wanting a more elegant, cake for their celebration. And I think they're being exposed to more of what is available by having access to Instagram and all the social media where
right.
people are posting everything. So I just see the trends as cakes continuing to get more and more beautiful, more and more opportunities to learn and grow as a cake artist. And even, like I said, to have the opportunity to take a class with a world-renowned cake artist in Malaysia, and I can sit here on St. Simon's and do that via the internet. So it's so exciting. It's an exciting time, to be alive, to be creative, to be able to work doing this. And it's really fun.
So have any aspirations that we'll see you on the next wedding cake bake challenge on the Food Network or anything like that you think you might want to try next?
I actually got invited to audition for something and I declined it. One of the big things for me is time. Right. I'm a very, very small business. I like to have, I wouldn't say that I'm a control freak, but I really like to have personal contact with the clients. I like to select and source my materials and get the freshest, most nice ingredients. And I like to personally talk to my clients. I like to personally do my tastings. I like to personally deliver the cakes and set them up. And so the time thing is a big thing for me. So my grandkids were disappointed. They're like, "Oh, please audition, please audition." I'm like, no, it's just not something. If I was 20 years old and starting out, I would absolutely do it. But now I have to be really smart about my time and my energy and for what I'm trying to do.
Well, and couples are investing in you. Like you said, you put your name on your company. That's the brand. So people want to see you from the first phone call. They want to see you at the tasting, and they want to see you delivering that cake. I mean, that's...
And I don't necessarily need to have, world recognition. What I want is for my couples to be really happy on their wedding day with their cake and to remember it for the rest of their life. And that's my goal, not to be rich and famous.
Exactly. How many couples, I know we have Destination Market, but of all the couples that you do all year, do all of them make it down for a tasting, or do you have one or two that you have to do like the day of, or something short, or do you ship tasting flavors?
No, we don't. No, we don't ship. Just like today, I'm baking fresh for my tasting tomorrow. Right. I would say at least half of our couples don't do a tasting, which is why reviews are so important to us.
Correct.
And everybody's busy, and it's people need to be able to go read those reviews and know that everybody's happy, everybody loves the cake, because so many of our clients are, power couples that are busy working, or they're far away or out of the country, or they just simply can't. And so I would say that at least half of them don't get a tasting. And we usually get an email or a phone call saying how pleasantly happy and surprised they were, from not doing the tasting, and that they love their cake so much, and that, which makes us happy.
Well, and you're building your reputation too. I mean, your Instagram feed and all these reviews, and then all the vendors down here that are blessed to work with you on the wedding day team. I mean, we're not going to send people. My name's on my business too. I'm not going to be sending people to people who might be letting us down. I'm all about chances and giving everybody the first start. And I love being there at the beginning of somebody's career journey. But also at the same time, I have to respect the clients that invested in me to trust me. And then I have to then say, hey, I trust this person. And I think especially nowadays with Instagram, they see that everybody pretty much sees that I'm with you. If I'm in this area, I pretty much have you as a cake. When I'm off traveling somewhere else, I have other people in that area. But the clients that are seeking us out are on Instagram. And this generation is, I'm looking here, I'm listening here, I see. And I think this generation places more value on the experience a wedding professional can bring to them and the experience that professional can give to their guest. And these reviews do that, and these reviews help it. So I'm not surprised that everybody just goes ahead and says, oh my gosh, the cake was great, because it is hard for people to get down here. So anybody coming into this business that decides, hey, you know what, I'm working a 9 to 5 in a cubicle, but I really, really, really sit in my kitchen every weekend and follow along on the Food Network. What advice would you give somebody that wants to come in and start doing wedding cakes legitly, seriously, setting up their business and being legit, not just a hobby, but somebody that wants to take this vision that they had and make it a reality in the wedding industry?
Experience. Practice. There are so many things that go into a wedding cake, experience-wise, to make it successful. And I think just to learn as much as you can from as many people as you can, and practice as much as you can, and to be patient with yourself. It's okay to fail. Trying and getting back up again is, I think, in life, business, whatever, that's the difference between people who are successful and people who aren't. Correct. And I think most people just starting out, everybody makes mistakes. They just do. And for some people that can be crushing, and they don't continue to try. And for other people, they get back up and they just try that much harder, and they end up being that much more successful. I didn't on purpose plan to have a wedding cake business. I started out in Charleston, South Carolina. I lived in Venice, Florida. I lived in Kentucky. I've lived a lot of places. Everywhere I've ever gone, I didn't start out to have a cake business. It just ended up that way. Right. just, you make a cake, somebody sees it. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And the next thing you know, it's a full-blown business. And I think if you're doing quality work, that is going to happen to people. People are going to know, they're going to talk about it, and they're going to want your product if you're putting out something wonderful.
And you're doing it with your heart and the right intention. And that's the difference too. I mean, you can tell that you're passionate. And I know that's an overused word a lot, but you can tell you're passionate about your cakes and equally about your couples. And you want them to have that experience. So I think anywhere that you go, anywhere you go and what you want to start, if you're going from that intention and from that place of, I want to do this to be of service to somebody else, you're going to be successful. And we all make mistakes, 37 years later, there's still things that happen that, I hate to say fault, but other things can fall down on a wedding day that
yes,
you as a vendor got to pick up, and you got to run and make things
creatively. Yes,
creatively and smile on your face and the whole bit. So
yes,
and it goes back to having that great wedding team around. So is there, when you set out to meet a client, have there been times in your business where you have just realized doing an interview or a fill out a form that it's just okay to say no to clients? I mean, I try to remind entrepreneurs that, no is not a bad word in business. Sometimes it's the best thing for both clients. So have you found out along your journey here that there are just some couples that from the get-go, you're better off to have them find somebody else?
I'm very fortunate that no is a huge part of my vocabulary. It's one of my favorite words. I don't apologize for using the word no. I think it's healthy for myself and for others. And yes, of all of the inquiries and couples that we get, we usually end up maybe doing 20% we say yes to.
Wow.
And I'm very blessed to have so much interest in our cakes. It does have to be the right fit. We are already taking bookings, for 2020. A lot of times it's just a simple, problem is that we're already booked. We take a very limited number of orders, because I do everything. I have, my daughter helps me with my website and photography and deliveries and everything, but for the most part, I do everything. So I'm just one person, and to do it well, I can only do so much.
So do you pretty much just do one cake a day per client, or is there times that you might do a couple?
It just depends, because it depends on just like the pricing, it depends on how complex the design is, how much time it's going to take, and then everything is from there as far as how much you can do and how much it's priced for. So I have some weekends where I'll do 3 or 4 cakes, and some weekends where I'll do one cake and then not do one on the weekend before in preparation with sugar work or whatever. So that's how I do it. That's how I plan. And so I don't, if it's good for me and good for the couple, then that's great, and it works out well for everyone. If it's just not, I do care about what I put out there and what I have my name on. And sometimes people just have really different taste, and it's not that it's bad. It's just totally different than my taste vision, or what I want my name on. Right.
They just have a different vision, but they may want their taste of yours, but the vision is different. Well, and I also believe that, just because I can photograph 4 weddings a day and you can do 5 cakes a day doesn't mean that we should. I'm all about quality over quantity. And
exactly. And that's,
I don't know how I want my clients to have the experience. You want your clients to have the experience. And I want them to know that we're just as invested in them as they are in us. And that's the personal service that we can offer everybody by doing that.
Right. Well, I feel very strongly about that. If, even if it's a cake for 20 people, which I do those sometimes, but that gets my same attention as a cake for 200 people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I tried advertising a little while on The Knot and Wedding Wire, which I love both of those, and immediately stopped because, we just got like way too many inquiries.
Right.
And, I really try to keep it local. I get a lot of inquiries for Jacksonville and Savannah because, we're right here in the middle. Yep. But I really try to keep it local. So, the majority of what I do is actually on St. Simon's or Jekyll.
Correct.
Because with cake, and I'm not, there's times when we do travel,
Yes.
And if we're not booked and it's a great cake, then, I'll say yes. And there's lots of opportunities, which is great. So yeah, it just needs to work for everybody. And sometimes I think it's not just better for me, but it's actually better for the couple.
Oh, correct.
I just want them to
have,
just to have what's absolutely best for them that they want.
So I know you're like most of us, we're getting 2020 inquiries. So how long would you think that is a good thing to tell our listeners how far in advance they need to get a hold of you if they would like to have one of your lovely creations?
So on average, most people book about a year in advance. If we do anything over a year, which we do take bookings over a year out, but we do have a stipulation in the contract that the price can raise up to 20%.
Yep.
Because of things like the vanilla crop or
exactly.
Things like that do happen, and that really does affect the cost, obviously. I have had people call me a week before and they were in a bind, something happened, and call crying or whatever, and if I can help them, I will. So it just depends. A lot of people are upset when they call and their wedding's 6 months out and they're like, well, I can't believe you're booked. And I wanted you to do my wedding and can't you fit me in? And, they get upset with you. And it's like, well, if we're booked, we're booked.
Exactly.
I'd love to do your cake if you want to move your wedding date, but, if we're booked, we're booked. So, and we only are booked like with a deposit, so
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You have to have something in there because, as we mentioned earlier, your pricing changes. You actually have a product that causes your pricing and your structure to change. I mean, you have some physical ingredients that actually are part of your cost to do something. So it is harder to go too far out. So,
Right. So I recommend to brides, I would say, it's good to contact people and just start checking into things whenever you get engaged, even if you're, planning 2 or 3 years out for your wedding day. I mean, it's good just to gather information. We typically like to book 1 year in advance, but like I said, we'll do, gosh, I was trying to think, I think a week is probably the soonest.
Right. We get some elopements down here. We get some quick call. I just had one coming up for a couple weeks from now. And literally Tina, my studio manager, sent your name over because she's like, I'm looking for a small cake for the day. So, but it's a Tuesday. So we're never going to not recommend anybody. We're never going to say, hey, they don't do this, because it's your business and we trust you. And we want you to be part of the day, even if it's a Tuesday.
We also try, like I said, my main, focus is I want couples to be happy, and I love being a part of their special day, and I just want them to have like the perfect cake. And that's really, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So if I can do anything for anybody, within reason, I will,
right.
And I'm happy to work it in if I can.
Right.
A lot of people, I was trying to think, of course we get the hurricanes, and we helped some people out during the hurricanes that got, kicked out of Florida and, came this way. But, things like that, you'll stay up all night and make something to try to help someone. And that does happen here.
Yep.
So yeah. And I think, like I said, if somebody, I just got a booking, I was trying to think like a week ago, and it's for 3 months from now. And that's okay too. Like if we're available, Well,
and that's the thing too, that we all need, as vendors, we need to educate our couples. And for those couples that are listening in, I wanted you to hear, Cathy again alluded to it. If you're getting married in a couple of years and you have some favorite wedding vendors, you need to reach out to them soon, because we are in a destination market, and pretty much all of coastal, from Florida all the way up to Charleston, is considered a coastal destination market.
Right.
So
right.
Venues and everything book, and we're limited. So couples, if you're listening, you need to reach out to those vendors that you really want to have part of your wedding day team, and give them a much notice, and give them a little leeway, and maybe be a little flexible, and ask if I want to have my wedding on this day of this weekend, when are you available, Cathy, and when can you do my cake? And then the flexibility falls back on, again, that's why we're working as a team, and see what can happen.
Right. And also, the venues get booked up, and I've had people, some of the venues here do not allow outside cakes. And I've had people book me to do their cake as soon as they get engaged, and their weddings, whatever, 2 years out, and I've got their deposit. And they go book their venue and they didn't know they couldn't have an outside cake.
Right.
And I've had people call me crying, can't you do something? And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's their policy, not
Right.
mine. I wanted to make your cake and I will give you your deposit back. You know?
And that's another lesson for our couples. You know, when
Right.
if you seek us prior to the venue, be prepared that we are sometimes, I hate to use that word, but our hands are tied.
Yes.
So, you know, sometimes reaching out to us is very flattering, but like you, where are you going to be? What are you thinking? So that I even know if I'm a preferred vendor that can, as a photographer,
right.
some venues, not so much here, but there's some other venues in close states that if I'm not on that list, it's an extra fee for the clients to bring me in. And sometimes
right.
that budget then has to be stretched. So I want couples to realize that, we love being favorites and I'm honored.
Yes. Yes.
Our hands are sometimes tied. Give us a call and give us a heads up. Maybe tell us where you're thinking about getting married and we can then kind of give you, hey, I can't be there. And just see what happens. And again, that's the open, candid conversation between clients and couples and vendors and couples that we need to do more of.
And again, I just want my couples to be happy. And I am really flattered when somebody says, I'm getting married in 2 years and I want you to do my wedding cake. That is super flattering. And we want to do your wedding cake,
Exactly.
But if we work out some of these details, now, fortunately, we're also able to do rehearsal dinner cake. So a lot of times in situations like that, they'll just go ahead and book a rehearsal dinner cake, like a groom's cake. And so at least they still get, a cake. But when we don't have control over the venues.
So how many groom's cake? How many groom's cake do you do? Do you see that as, I'm seeing a comeback in those, some really nice elaborate ones. For a while there, they died off. But how many groom cakes do you say that you're doing now at every wedding? And what are some of the trends with the groom cakes?
It really depends on the couples. Some couples, they have their heart set and they want one. And I think if they want one, they should get one. Some couples don't care. I'm really all about what does the couple want? Forget trends, forget, what does mom and dad want? I want the couples just to have, it's their day. It's like, it's their big day where they say, we're having this huge celebration to say that we love each other and we're making this commitment to each other and we want all of our loved ones to be here and celebrate. And it's really all about them. So I've had people where, maybe the parents didn't want them to have it because it was so elegant and, all that, but they really wanted it. And we've decided to go ahead and do it, or to do it at the rehearsal dinner. I've had other people, who don't want it, but they think they're supposed to. So I really try to get them to get what they want. So with that said, groom's cakes can be, super fun. We've done a sailfish jumping out of the cake. I've got a Batman one coming up. Of course, the Georgia football things are really popular here, So, groom's cakes are great. I think it's really more about what does the couple want? And if they want one, that's awesome. They should have it. And if they don't want one, then regardless of what anybody says, they shouldn't have one.
That's across the board. I think that's across the board, no matter what part of the wedding industry that you're in on the wedding day team. Again, because the cake is directly is a something that is sitting out there that reflects the couple. So when people look at it, they say, oh my gosh, that looks like them. Or, oh, of course you would have a UGA football cake. Those are the things. And down here in the South, we know that I've got my share of, I have a groom's cake and it's an armadillo cake just because I saw it on TV.
Yes.
So yeah. And again, you did it because, not because, and
right.
I think there's a difference.
I try to talk to people and really get them to try to see what it is that they really want. Because it's not about me. It's about them. It's about their day. And we're not trying, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not trying to talk anybody into anything.
Right.
I want them to have what it is, their heart, their desire, their vision for their day. And if they want a groom's cake, we'll crank out the nicest groom's cake you've ever seen. We can make them look elegant and sophisticated and fit into any venue. We can do that.
Yes.
Then if they don't want one, that's cool too. Sometimes they feel like to incorporate a certain flavor, they have to do that, which, that's not true either. We will incorporate whatever flavors into the wedding cake,
Right.
So it's all about the couple and what they want.
And I agree. So wrapping up here, Cathy, I would like for you to share where because I like to keep it business a little bit too and do a mix, but where do you see yourself in the next 3 years? I mean, what do you think you're going to be going or leading to or trending or just staying the same and just being your awesome Fabbo self? What do you think in the next 3 years we're going to see with Cathy Huber Cakes?
Well, I'm not that planned out. I really try to go with the flow, and this is working really well for me right now. I really like keeping things smaller. I've had and continue to have a lot of opportunities, which I'm really grateful for. There's, a lot of opportunity to expand. Right. Like I said, right now I'm leaning more towards, I really like the personal aspect of it, and really being hands-on and interacting with people. It's just more of what I'm trying to do. So there's a lot of opportunities. So I'm not really sure. I know that as a cake artist, I want to continue, to take classes, to grow. That's the thing I love about cake art, is that it's never boring.
Right.
There's always a new recipe to try. There's always, a new technique, a new equipment. And I'm really into all that, like about keeping current, and it keeps it really fun, really interesting, really exciting. So yeah, I mean, I think I'll just be thankful to be doing what I'm doing, and we'll just see what happens.
Well, and you have to keep investing. We all have to keep investing back in ourselves. We have to keep, I'm like you. I don't like to keep up with current trends. I want people to be themselves and be about them. But by the same token, we have to invest back in ourselves and our business the way that we ask clients to invest in us. So we have to keep improving and keep growing so that we're able to serve more people.
Right. I see a lot of people get stuck, and you can see it especially in the wedding industry with photography or cakes.
Burnout.
That, or you look at it and it's very, very dated, and it's not what modern people necessarily want. Some people do, some people, want a vintage look, which is great. But just for me personally, I just like to continue to grow and learn, and just keep making beautiful and delicious cakes. And that's
what makes you Fabbo. That's what makes you who you are. And I'm very honored to be in this industry with you. So, as we wrap up here, remind the listeners where they can find you, all your social media handles, all that good stuff, and where they can follow along in your journey and get inspired and come up with some ideas for their cakes. And again, if they're a newbie wanting to start out in the industry, you're definitely one to follow. So tell the listeners where they can best see you and your work.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Bobby. We are on Instagram at Cathy Huber Cakes, and you can see our website at cathyhubercakes.com. And we pretty much limit the social. I don't have time. I don't do Facebook and some of the other things. Right. It's a time constraint for me. So, but yes, you can find us there. And if you want to chat, you can call us. Our number's on our website, or email us. That's on our website as well. And we just look forward to any inquiries, and we always love to talk about wedding cake. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do that today. It's been really fun.
So I hope you enjoyed our chat today with Cathy as she shared her recipe for a successful wedding business, as well as living a sweet life. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for being Fabbo.
Thanks for joining us. We hope these conversations will take you into your wedding weekend with a little more confidence, proud of what you do, and how you serve your clients. Maybe you even picked up a business tip or two. Till next time, be Fabbo.